he first went to America, and he established an ashram. So this Yamuna Devi, that was his first female disciple. So she came to the ashram, and then in the evening, Prabhupada said, "Now, yes, you can't stay here." Then she said, "No, she's not going." So Prabhupada didn't know what to do. She said she's not leaving because in India, it's understood that women are not allowed to live in the ashram. It's like that's a standard. It's not something that's foreign. So Prabhupada couldn't understand. But then Prabhupada, he saw this girl's determination, and then I'm sure he must have had a discussion with his disciples, and they must have said, this is a system, and somehow or other they accommodated that and they made a place. And then after that, Jadurani was the second one who joined Narayan Maharaj, who became known as Shyamarani. So she was the second female disciples like this. So slowly they started to come in, like a lot of them started to come. And then Prabhupada he actually identified the woman as a secret weapon for spreading Krishna consciousness. He found that, they were distributing a lot of books, and also the women, also they were attracting men also to the ashram. People were seeing this and they were coming and getting married. And so Prabhupada actually saw that the woman played a big part in expanding and in book distribution, etc. And he was very happy, in fact, with the progress. But what had happened was that his godbrothers, they criticized Prabhupada, and they said, that how can Swami Maharaj, or we call Prabhupada, how can he allow men and women to mix freely, in the temples and live like this? He said, this is not Vedic. And that is true. So Prabhupada, Prabhupada was getting this feedback, like people were giving him this, all these stories that were happening. And to a certain extent, Prabhupada was affected by this, because in his purports in the Bhagavad Gita, etc., Srimad Bhagavatam, he mentioned all this, that his godbrothers like criticizing him for doing all these things. But he said that they don't understand because they have not been in the West. They don't know that it is just common, like for women and men to just chat to each other and just to speak freely. Whereas in India, it is not like that. In India, in the cultural play, today things are changed a lot because of the modernization of TV and so much infiltration, like of Western companies coming here and like traveling, so much exposure. But a lot of it is television. So the culture in India has changed a lot. I remember when I first came to India in the 70s, late 70s, and I saw the Indian culture, I was so excited. I said, wow, this is amazing, because we don't see this kind of culture in South Africa, where women are not allowed to even look at a man, and man is not allowed to look at a woman and follow this. That's what, when I came here at that time, it was like that. It was very, very strict. Right. Then later, I came to see, even in Delhi, the women are smoking. And sometimes we have not even seen the Indian women smoking in South Africa. But yeah, so the things have changed a lot. In fact, India it's changing like so fast. Everything is changing. So, but I was so pleased that time when I came. I said, oh, I'll get my boys and all married, to Indian girls, because they're so like chaste and, they know the Indian culture and this. But today, it's not like this. It's only if they're trained properly, Actually, see, in our understanding of Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, it actually is the men are the ones that are supposed to be trained in Krishna consciousness, and then they actually train their wives or the women, because they learn to practice properly. So that's why they go to Gurukul. Like generally it was the policy, everybody goes to Gurukul. That's the Vedic system. So what happens, you become a very strong brahmachari. You learn control, you learn so many things in the ashram of the Guru, that when you come out, then you're able to live this Vanashram style. Then you understand, the Vanashram system, like brahmachari. And then if a brahmachari, if he doesn't want to remain a brahmachari, then he's allowed to enter to the grihastha. Though now we are maidis, but at the time it was grihastha, who follow strict rules and regulations. And then from grihastha, at a certain age that you enter vanapras, right? And then at 50 years, then you give up, you enter the forest. So that's what I explained now. I was asking you for your people's age. I was trying to work out the group, what is the age. And I found most of you are around, the mean age is about 42. So that means now you all came earlier. So this is very good, because basically, even though you can be living in America, but you are still living, if you're living under the guidance of a guru, then you are living in the forest of Vrindavan. So you're not, though you may be in America, but you're not in America. You are actually living because your consciousness is being driven like this. Whereas it's explained in, like previously I explained also, he said you can be living in Satya Yoga, but if your mentality is like the mentality of the people in Kali Yoga, then even though you're in Satya Yoga, you are living in Kali Yoga. So in the same way, if you are in Kali Yoga, and if you're living like spiritual Krishna conscious life, then you are living in Satya Yoga, in the Kali Yoga. So all of you now, you living in the United States, you all are living in Vaikuntha. Though you're not aware of it, you don't feel it, but that is how your spiritual body is being built up to enter Vaikuntha. So I was checking that. So this is very good. And see, when we chant, like see in the previous ages, like, okay, the Satya Yoga, they chant Omkar, it's a Diksha mantra where they chanted, and when they chanted the mantra, everything was absolute, like the mantra was no different. Now, whereas in Treta Yoga, they perform these yagyas, massive yagyas, which we also sometimes do now, when we have initiation and all, they do these yagyas. Though Prabhupada said this is not, he said we just do it as a traditional customary. Because he said today people don't know how to chant the mantras. Because the mantras actually have so much power that even when you are performing the havan, you actually don't take a matchstick and light. You just take 2 wood and you just ignite the fire by chanting mantra. So that is the power of the system. And in the Bhagavatam, it's also explained there. Also how the same thing. That's how he said. Then that is when that happens, then you can be sure that the yagya will be successful. When this happens, then you know that this starts happening, then the yagya will become successful. And I'll tell you one story of it. So one king, Pururava, he actually also was doing all these yagyas. And there was this one person, this great Muni. He actually was the descendant of the Brigu dynasty. His name was Chaivyana. And Chaivyana, he basically, he was so old, and but he was very well known all over the universe. Even the demigods used to come and visit him. He was so powerful. He was very, 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 very powerful. But he was very, very old. Right? And so one day, the king and his daughter went to his ashram. Her name was Somya. So they went to his ashram, and normally they say when a king, when he goes to travel, he doesn't travel alone. He travels with all his soldiers. So whenever they say a king is coming, it doesn't mean it's the king, it's the same coming. No. Just like when even Dhruva Muni, when they say he's coming, he comes with his 60,000 disciples. So they are. So when they say the king is there, so the king comes with all his soldiers. He comes with. Well, they say all. I mean, like he comes with his army, right? And then he also took his daughter. He took his daughter, and now when the daughter also goes, the daughter doesn't go alone. Like say, like now you say you're going to Amal Gora, and say, okay, Amal Gora came with his wife. That's all. But normally, if say Amal Gora and his wife, then a wife comes with all her thousands of friends, comes with her. So like you'll go alone. You basically you'll have your 1,000 friends, girlfriends will come with you, right? So they went to Chabyana's ashram, and what happened was that while these girls, they were wandering in the forest. They were wandering in the forest, and they saw two like holes, earthworm holes, and they saw like glitter coming from these worms. There's two holes, like glitter shining. And the Somya, she was thinking, now what is this? So she took a thorn and she pricked one of those holes. And when she pricked that hole, blood started to come. Blood started to come. And then all the soldiers at that time, they couldn't urinate. And they were constipated. So they were complaining to the king now. They said something is wrong here now. We can't pass, all of them, same time, the experiences. They can't urinate, they can't pass stool, nothing. They're constipated. So the king straight away understood that there is some evil omen, something bad happened in this ashram because why is this happening now? Because it happened to everybody, is happening. And then the daughter, immediately she confessed that she did this. And now the king was alarmed now. What they're going to do now, because this Chavyana, he was such a powerful Brahmin that if he curses them, they finished. And he said, oh, now we're in big trouble. What to do? And so anyway, the king said, he was trying to go, he started to communicate with the Chavyana. They came to know that he was living in this hole. He was living. So he started to communicate with him and he said, sorry, my daughter, by mistake, she had not known and she pierced you. So when he mentioned his daughter, and his daughter, apparently she was so beautiful. She was like a demigoddess, like Apsara. She was so beautiful. She was like, you can't imagine her beauty. She was so beautiful. And then, so immediately when he said Chavyana, he said, yes, my daughter. Then she said, is your daughter married? And then straight away in the commentary, it is Vishwanath Chakravarti was explaining that yes, because sometimes it's the full details are not there in the translation. He said basically when Kavyana asked the king, then straight away the king understood that I can offer my daughter to him. And if I offer my daughter to him, then we won't get cursed. Then immediately the king said, yes, no, my daughter is not married. I offer you my daughter. I'll give you my daughter. Right. So he said, okay, he'll accept a daughter. But he was so old. He was like we are Telugus, so we say in our language we call Tata. I don't know in your language, like great grandfather. Right. So yes. So what happened was that yeah. So now, I mean, she was young, beautiful, and she accepted now. Her father asked, so she agreed to marry him. But because he was old and, like almost invalid, he was like an irritable person. Like he was like, he gets irritated for everything. He's like, right. So he was so like irritating, and she was young girl, and she was serving him, but she understood his mood, that this is an old man and he's like this, that. So she served him. Then Prabhupada in the commentary, he explained something very nice. He said, you see this girl, so beautiful and so attractive, and she's a king's daughter. And father got her married to this old man, and yet she served him so nicely. She served him. So she said, this is how a woman should serve her husband, like this. She should serve her husband like this. Even though he can be like the so-called the biggest nonsense, but he said that's the secret, he said. So it was surprising. He said, Prabhupada said that is the secret, that a woman must serve her husband like this. So he says, when we tell the Westerners this, he says, this is slave mentality. He said, this is slave mentality, that, that a woman must be like this. That means that if the husband gives her a kick and she says, thank you, can you give me another kick? Like she's so happy. Like this, she's not, she doesn't like get depressed like this. So Prabhupada said, this is a secret. And you know what was the secret, he said? He said, the secret is that when you serve the husband like that, because the husband is such a great devotee and such a great Vaishnava, he blesses you that this will be your last life on this. He'll give you his powers. So he'll bless you like this, and you'll go back. He said that is the secret. Westerners don't understand that. He says that if we serve, the wife serves the husband like this, then her life will be totally successful. He said that is the secret. So then, so after that, then there's Ashwini Kumaras. You know the Ashwini Kumaras, they were demigods from the heavenly planets. So they also came to see Chavyani Muni. They also came to visit him. So all these, even the devas and all used to come and visit him. So they came to visit him. And then he told them that he will offer them, because he can perform yagyas. Like these people, they perform big yagyas. Like Nimi Maharaj, he is like the father of the Ishvaku dynasty. So in Nimi Maharaj, he wanted Vasistha to perform a yagya for him. He wanted a Vasistha to perform a yagya for him, and he said no. He already promised King Indra he will do his yagya. And Nimi Maharaj was a disciple of Vasistha. So he told his disciple to wait. When he finishes the yagya of Indra, then he'll do the yagya for Nimi Maharaj. Right? And so Nimi Maharaj, he was a self-realized person, and he didn't want to wait. He said, no, life is too short. I can't wait. So he hired some other priest to do this yagya. And so because he said life is too short. Then when Vasistha finished his yagya with Indra, he came and he cursed Nimi Maharaj. Because he said, I told you to wait, you didn't wait. And then Nimi Maharaj, he counter-cursed him. He said, I asked you to do the yagya because King Indra, he give you a big dowry, or you give you a big dakshina, you ran to him to go do this. You, for more money, you are going to him. So he cursed him. So both, each one cursed each other. So this Nimi Maharaj cursed Vasistha, Vasistha cursed Nimi Maharaj cursed him, so the counter. So both of them. Anyway, there's another story, but I'm telling you how powerful these Brahmins were. Very, very powerful. So this Chavyana, he told that he will do a yagya, and he told the Ashwini Kumaras who came to visit him, he said, I will give you the Somaras. Somaras is basically, in the yagya, it is only that goes to Indra, the king of heaven, because this, from the yagya, the Somaras comes. Now, this is not like how we perform these yagyas, but these things disappear. This divine nectar disappears like intoxicating drink. So this is Indra's, like from the yagya, this is his gift. So, but he said, I'll give you a pot of that Somaras. He'll give the Ashwini Kumaras. Now the Ashwini Kumaras know that this is, they can't get this. This is, because this belongs to Indra, but the king Chavyana is going to give it to them, so they were happy. But he said, what I want you to do, I want you to make me a young person. I want you to give me back my youth. He said, I want you to give me back my youth. So they said, no problem. We will give you back your youth. Right. So they said, okay, there is a river here. We'll have to dip you in this river and your youth will come back. And then they took him to the river, but now he was so old and he couldn't, they had to carry him. They couldn't they couldn't get him to dip himself. So they had to go with him into the river and dip themselves with him together. So all three of them went into this lake and they went and dipped themselves. And now at the meanwhile, his wife, his young wife who's married to him, she was watching the whole thing, the whole incident, what was happening. So this Chavyana was invalid, so they had to carry him and take him in, dip him, and they also dipped themselves. And when they dipped themselves in the lake, and when they came out of the lake, they were all so beautiful, and they all looked identical. There was no difference. They all were transformed, and they were like, when they came out of the lake, they came so beautiful with garlands and everything on them automatically, and the whole body was transformed. So this Somyana, she was confused now. Who is my husband now? All three of them look the same. So she can't make up now because all three of them, now which is my husband? She knows her husband was the old man. He went there. So all three of them changed. So then she said, you know what? She took shelter of the Ashwini Kumara. She said, she asked them, she said, please tell me which one is my husband. So they were very happy because she could have chosen anyone, right? But he said, no, they asked. So she said, this is a very chaste woman. She won't accept anybody besides her husband. Who's her husband? So they're very happy. So they told her who her husband was. And then after she got her husband and was transformed now into a young, handsome, very nice person. So then the daughter took her husband to visit her father, the king. And when she went to the king, and the king saw this young person, and he was, when his daughter came, he was so happy. He said, who is this person that you brought? He said, you are an unchaste lady. He said, I got you married to this old person, the Chavyana. You're supposed to be serving him for the rest of your life. And now you have dumped him. And you have taken this young, beautiful boy. He said like this, he said he looks like a beggar. You know, he said, how can you do this? Now our whole dynasty is going to be cursed now for you to do such a thing. And she was listening to her father, and she smiled while her father was chastising her, because she knows the father doesn't know, but her father was really abusing her. So then she told her father that, you know what, this person, the Ashwina Kumaras came and he changed. Then he was very happy. Then he embraced his daughter. Right. So after that, Chaivayana, he did the yagya, and he did the yagya, and he gave that somaras to the Ashwini Kumaras. And the Ashwini Kumaras, they took it, but King Indra was so unhappy that his somaras, he gave it to them. So he took his thunderbolt and he came for Chaivayana to attack Chaivayana with his thunderbolt. Chaivayana just looked at him and he paralyzed his hands. So he couldn't throw his thunderbolt. You can see how powerful it is. So I'll just explain to you the story of how these sages, and how, you know, this all the story I'm relating to you is all in the Bhagavatam. So all these stories, like Shukadev Goswami is repeating kings after kings and kings. Like he'll give like 100 kings, and he'll give 100 sons that's going to take birth. So in future, he says in future, they will take birth. So that's why I asked Amal Gora. I thought maybe I can trace it from this book. Yes, so that's why I asked him where. Because I'm just reading the thing. There's so much predictions made. It's so nice. There's so much nectar. In fact, a lot of these things I'm also going to try to make videos and share, like these stories, you know, so people can see. Because people also like, and also it's informative. It's informative as well, right? So so we're going to do that.